Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Way Too Serious podcast, and this is your host here, Jerry Larson.
Hey, what's up? It's Josh. How's your day going, man?
Oh, my day is fantastic. It's very nice weather outside today. Surprisingly, in the forecast, they had predicted an entire week full of rain. So to see that it's actually sunny outside in sunny California, it's a good feeling. You know, a lot of vitamin D.
Yeah,
it's pretty
gotta
cool.
get that vitamin D, and you can drink milk, build up that calcium. Or you can just go outside, sit in the sun, soak up that stuff.
Or take a supplement, however you get your vitamin D.
I mean, you can get your vitamin D from supplements, I guess, if that's your cup of tea. If not, just go outside. I mean, get some fresh air. Everybody loves fresh air.
Yeah.
How you feeling
Speaking
after
of,
that?
oh,
Sorry.
what?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say, speaking of vitamins, I was listening to that song by Vitamin C the other day, the graduation song, but really
That's a bad
random
song.
thought. Yeah, it's just as we go on, we remember.
Now, how you feeling? So today's March 3rd, March 2nd. How you feeling about that game last night, buddy? With the Lakers.
I don't want to talk about the Lakers loss, man.
You don't have Laker pride?
I have Laker pride, but I just never know what's to come. So, they go and win a couple of good games. They beat the Los Angeles Clippers. They beat the Washington Wizards, nothing impressive, by 1 point. And then they get to play the Denver Nuggets. In overtime, yeah. So, I don't know. It's hard to say because if they had beat the Denver Nuggets, I'd have a little more confidence in the rest of their season. But they're going through the hardest stretch of their calendar coming up here in the next month, pretty much.
I feel like for them, this is like LeBron's last dance. I almost feel like because he's getting close to 40. I think he is turning 40 this year in December, but he's got his last dance going on, and it might be next season too. But he's getting up there in age. And you and I talked about this a little bit. Like, how sad is it that LeBron James and Stephen Curry, like, in the next 5 years, they're not going to be in the league? Like, who do I watch then? Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a Bucks fan. I really don't care that much about Giannis or Wemby or any of them.
Do you want to become Wizards fans? Like, I could watch Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole and see how that
out of
plays
principle, I can't like Jordan Poole. we banished him to the ethers, and then, which is Washington. We banished him to the ethers. We're like, no. We got to banish you, Jordan. So we did. We banished him to the Wizards, and we got Chris Paul out of it, which has been working out beautifully for us, by the way. So,
yeah, and you guys got a tough one today versus
Boston
Celtics. But
we've had some pretty good wins, though. I think we're like 11 of 13 in our past 13 games, which is surprising because Steve Kerr's finally playing the young guys, and surprise, surprise, they can actually ball out.
Yeah, it's a shocker. Yeah, I don't know. I get mixed feelings right now just because, if I was to make a prediction, where do you see LeBron James ending his career point total wise? Like, you think he's going to hit 43,000, 44,000?
I think
What's
42
your prediction?
is a safe bet. He just hit 40,000. I'm going to be honest. I don't see his last season. I think he's probably going to get an injury in his last season. He's getting up there in age. I mean, 21 seasons is a milestone, and it's a marathon for him. Hats off to him, but I think 42 is a safe bet. 43 might be pushing it a little bit just because I think his last season is going to be cut short, especially if he tries to play with Bronny. If Bronny goes to the draft this upcoming year and gets drafted, I think he's going to try to play with Bronny. So I'm going to play it safe, say 42.5. That's my bet.
42.5. I got him in at, I'm guessing around 43,000 is my guess. Like, 43. I think that's the threshold. Yeah, so he's at 40,000 right now. I think he's like at 40,017 to be exact. But the guy is averaging 25 points per game, 7 assists per game, and 7 rebounds a game. So I think he's on par to every 4 games, he's probably going to hit 100 points, right? And there's about roughly 30 regular season games left. So he's in that threshold where he could hit, another 1,000 points right there, 1,200 points. So, I mean,
yeah,
you're looking at him next season saying that he's only going to score 800 points. I find that very hard to believe.
I give him maybe he's going to get like another 600 points this season. That would get him to 40. I said 600.
Yeah, 40,600
40,000.
ish. Yeah.
I'd say he's gonna probably drop about 2,000 points next season. That's my guess on that. And if we do some math with the calculator, because I don't do math on the weekends.
Well, I heard a crazy statistic about him too. Is like, so in order for someone to hit 40,000 points, they would have to average 25 points a game, play every single game in a regular season for 19 and a half seasons to hit
Whatever.
that 40,000 mark. So
Well,
I don't know that we'll ever see that in our lifetime
I just did
again.
the math on that. So for 2,000 points over an 82 game season, it would be a 24 points per game average. So if he ends up with like 600 for the last part of the season, and then comes in next season and has averages 24, I think 24 is very generous. I think that's probably what he's going to hit next season. I think as he's gotten
Yeah.
older, he plays more point guard. So
It's probably an unfair time to ask too, because I mean, there's the dark looming question on whether he's going to try to get a signing extension. There's rumors he may play another 3 seasons, and if that's the case, then I think
yeah,
43,000 is
if it's
highly
another three
likely.
seasons, absolutely, yeah. Maybe he's trying to
Yeah,
go for 50,000. Maybe he really
yeah,
wants to differentiate. He's just like, I'm going for 50,000. Why not? I can still play.
that's just crazy, man. I can't even imagine if that was possible for somebody. That's, I mean, even so the other crazy statistic I heard about him too, and then we'll get off of sports. I know we kind of get
Yeah,
on a rant on sports, but if you cut his point totals in half, he would still be top 50 in the NBA in scoring.
and that's crazy. I want to
It's
say
insane.
he's probably right up there with Steph Curry if you cut his point total in half, because I think Steph and Curry might be at like, he might be 25,000. I don't think he's close to the 30,000 mark though. Let's look this up. All right, so he's at 23,254.
Yeah, I think Curry, if we see Curry hit 30,000, that would be like his threshold in my opinion. I don't know if
But
he's going to break much higher than that.
I don't think he will, honestly. I think 30,000 would be very like generous with him. I think he's probably going to hit like 27,000 in his career, 27, 28. I just think he's got maybe a couple seasons left. He's hitting age 36 this year, and I don't feel like he has anything left to prove. He's gotten his finals MVP, he's got his 4 rings. I mean, he's ready to call it a day.
Yeah, very much so. Very sad time in sports, but it's sad to see all these players that we really enjoy watching play start to like age and get to that point like where they're not going to be in the league anymore. But it's a very interesting thought because today we're talking about identity and how people identify with taking their identity way too serious. And it's cool because this is their identity, right? Like they're basketball players,
Yeah.
they're celebrities outside of that too, and they're also very key players in their communities for a lot of them. Like outside of the LeBron James and Russell Westbrook or Steph Curry, there's Russell Westbrook, who I've heard has done a lot for his community in Los Angeles, which is really cool to see that they give back to the community in a very nice, way too serious way, right? Like they're taking their community and giving back way too seriously, which is a very generous thought when you think about that.
Well, we could just go back a little further too. So, growing up, I'm sure every school has this. You have your school rivalry. You pick that one school where you always are like interconference matchups. You always take it way too serious. You're always like, "Oh yeah, it's a big game. We're playing them." And for us, it was this town called Fieldcrest. They weren't a
Yeah.
town, but they came from the town of Monunk, but their school name was Fieldcrest. Um,
Yep.
and we're gonna omit our school name because we don't want to be tracked. We don't want people to Google us.
I
But
don't have anything on a Google search anyways. Go ahead, Google me. See what you
okay,
find.
it's a bet. Do it right now. But people took those rivalries really seriously. Like they would be like, "Oh, like I gotta go back at them." There's this kid that was a grade below me. I remember he was terrible at basketball, but he was really tall. And he would be like, "Oh, coach, like coach has got to put me in. I used to play there. Like I want to whoop up on them." And he was like maybe 10th or 11th man. And it's like he's not putting you in, buddy. Like you're bad. It doesn't win us the game. What's winning basketball for us? Not playing you. That's winning basketball. And he's like so like hyped, and he was really into it. And he was like, "Let me at him, coach. Like let me at him." It's like, dude, you're taking this way too serious right now. Like you need to simmer down. lower it. Like,
Yeah. It's really funny you bring that up because even like the years when we were not very, I would say we're not really in the contention for making a playoff run, right? Like my
yeah,
whole time playing basketball at that school, we didn't have any aspirations to make it into the state championship. We played in the regional tournament, but we weren't like super great.
everyone
But
plays
it's
in regional.
well, yeah, I mean you have a chance, right? But like
Yeah.
they based on seedings, like you would have the number one seed most of the time because we were near the bottom of that bracket. So that just kind of happened that way. Like, here's a game. Good luck. Let's see where it goes. But yeah, with the Fieldcrest games, I remember that was always like really big
And they were
game for
state
us to take
contenders.
serious. Oh yeah, they were. I think they might have even won state. The funny thing is like, so as serious as like our school took those rivalries. The funny thing is that I went and played basketball with them at their courts in Minung during the summertime.
And
So
they tried to,
I would train with these guys and I'd whoop up on them in street ball to the point where they actually had asked me if I would. I don't know if I've told you this. They asked me if I would be willing to like come over and they wanted me to play at Fieldcrest with them at their
honestly, you should have
school.
done it.
It would have been a fun time. Yeah. They were cool guys. I really enjoyed them outside of basketball and stuff. It was cool like like the identity of basketball and sports in general. It's cool to see how you can connect with somebody based on like your identity in a sport, right? Like basketball, we all kind of speak that same language in sports,
Yeah.
like basketball, and
You
everyone
let your
relates.
you let your playing on the court do the talking. I mean,
Yeah, and even as competitive as you can be in that realm, like at the end of the day, you're still like a group of guys or like, a group of girls that really enjoy a certain sport. Like you're just a group that identifies with that.
yeah.
So it's really cool to think about that. Like sports is a good way to connect.
Well, I can take it a step further now from the local level to the college level, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about who takes basketball way too serious, and it's you, Purdue. You take it way too serious. I mean, we're talking violent serious at this point, which, full disclaimer, I don't much care for like getting that into a sport where I'm gonna like be physical with another person and fight them, but this is a couple years back when I went to a Illinois Purdue game with a friend, and we are just going there to have a good time. I mean, we're Illinois fans, we like Illinois, but we did it. We went to Purdue's stadium over in Lafayette, Indiana, and we are like, oh, this is gonna be a fun time. Those fans, especially like grown adults that are well outside of college age, they were getting nasty to the point like we would be cheering for our players and like we were up by Illinois was like up by like maybe 4 points and they shoved us down because they didn't want to see us standing. Like they put hands on us and shoved us down. That is battery in anywhere. Like that's you can't
Oh
touch
yeah.
another person like that. Like that's I could sue them for that. And these fans thought it was okay because like, oh, you're in our house, like don't you dare. Like and it's like it's just a sport. It's a game. It's supposed to bring people closer, not
Yeah.
tear others down. And at the time, it was Io DeSumo having a heck of a season right now, by the way, with the Chicago Bulls. Kudos to him. But we thought Io was injured. Like we thought Io had a career-ending like Achilles rupture because he went down and it looked really bad. And we were like, it was very emotional. Like we were like really bummed, and people were laughing about like get him off the court, get that bum off the court. And even their own player, Zach Edey, they called him racial slurs because he wasn't playing the best, and they're calling him racial slurs because he's some Asian descent, and they were calling him racial slurs because he wasn't playing up to par. Now, what kind of fans of their own school calls their player a racial slur? Like, I think you're kind of scummy for that, Purdue. This is my high horse rant. Purdue's a trash school. I'm taking this way too serious, but that's because you took it way too serious, Purdue. You took the game way too serious. Fix it. Fix yourselves. Fix how you interpret the game of basketball and how you cheer for basketball because there is no room in the sport of basketball for fans like you.
Yeah, that's like one of the main points we want to get across in today's episode too is like as we talk through this 2-part special on like identity crisis, we want people to understand that like it's okay to identify with things. Like we're not trying to bash on people identifying with
absolutely.
what they do, right? But to the point where you take it way too serious and you start degrading other people or you start name calling just to get your point across. Like I think I've said this in a previous episode about how people are really degrading on like online social platforms and stuff, but I still stand by that. Like at the end of the day, all you've done is hurt another human being, and like, you know, life is already tough enough in my opinion. Like I think
Oh yeah.
figuring out life, right? Like be there as another human being to support another human being and make sure that everyone's able to enjoy life to the fullest extent as possible. And the minute you start tearing someone down, you've taken that joy away from them. So I think that's not fair to do to other people when you take that identity super serious. So key story, man. I think that's really clutch, like how you came and shared that story with the your experience with Purdue. Like I've personally never experienced that, so I can only imagine how crazy that would be, like in a live
It was
setting like that.
baffling to me. Like honestly, like if Illinois had won that game, I think me and my friend were ready. Like we recognized the fact we'd probably have to fight to get out of there because they're nasty. Like it was even going to the bathroom or like trying to get a drink from the concession stands. Like these fans, like one guy just straight up like stiff armed us while
Oh
walking
wow.
through, and it's like, what is your deal? Like I honestly am rooting actively against them. Like I have ill will against the College of Purdue this season, just because personally, I think they
Yeah.
suck, and I would love to see them lose. I think when yeah, like you said, like they tear people down. You're taking this beautiful game of basketball and you're tarnishing it. And we're gonna get
Yeah.
off our topic of sports because not everybody identifies with sports. I mean, that's like the most universal one, whether it's basketball, whether it's football. I mean, it's a great way for us to escape and watch others do something physically we can't do because they were gifted with those athletic gifts. And it's just a
Yeah.
nice escape from like how crappy life can be. It's just it's crazy out there for people nowadays.
Yeah. Like identify with your sports team, just to like wrap this up. Love your sports team but also love others in the process. Like you can get your point across about how much you love a sports team and how much pride you have for that team without making someone else be torn down. Like don't identify that seriously where you have to hurt someone's feelings and
Yeah.
make them feel uncomfortable. It's not right.
And remember, these athletes are people as well. They're there to get their paychecks, sure, but they're not there to take your verbal abuse or your physical abuse or anything like that. Like these athletes also are people. They have feelings just
Yeah.
like you and me. Just because they're celebrities or stuff like that, it doesn't give us a right to treat them any less than what they are. I mean, it's baffling to me. So yeah, sports. Be kind to your fellow athletes that you're watching. Support your team. If you don't want to support them, find a new team. Find a new hobby. I mean, yeah,
Shuffleboard. Just start watching
shuffleboard.
shuffleboard. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I hear
shuffleboard.
that's not a. You can identify as a shuffleboard fan and not get super heated. I
Yeah,
think. I could be wrong. There might be some avid shuffleboarders out there. I don't know.
yeah. Avid shuffle.
That's crazy.
Whoosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too
So,
funny.
so what's another thing that people take way too serious? That we're gonna hit the button, and this is gonna be like a hot button for some people. People that identify with their political affiliation.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one. It's actually a very interesting time to bring that up because I was at the gym running today and all I saw was just TV screens with like the presidential election coming up with like Donald Trump running versus Biden, and then I forget the other lady's name who's in the race, but she's kind
Nikki
of running
Haley.
against. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's the other one, but she's like significantly getting her butt kicked right now. Like it's not even close
she's not
between
going
her
to
and
get the
Trump.
nomination. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we have a replay of like the 2020 election, Biden versus Trump coming up at some point. And yeah, I've
Well, yeah.
seen the political affiliations. I've seen funny you bring that up because I remember back in grade school, I'm not sure if you had this similar thing in your classes and stuff, but you might have been too young at that point to have these kind of like voting things. I was in 6th grade at the time. And they had us do like a mock election. This was for the Bush Gore election back in
Oh my
2000.
gosh,
So
that's a throwback.
yeah, it's a really old one. And they had us like pass around this ballot box. We put our votes in, and like I remember Bush won in a landslide in that election thing because, one, we lived in the state of Illinois, which is like it's a 50-50 flip on a coin sometimes
Yeah,
versus,
kind of like a
Republican versus Democrat.
microcosm of what the whole U.S. is politically.
Exactly, yeah. But I remember, so he won that election in the class, and it was like as if he had won the whole election. They were like getting all mad, getting heated about like, oh, I can't believe you like Al Gore. And we're talking, imagine sixth graders in their squeaky voices, right, talking shit to each other about like, oh, you don't like this president, like, oh yeah, you're gonna go out and you're gonna vote for this guy, like, dude, we can't even fathom
You
like
can't vote.
understanding that. In sixth grade, I don't even know what like the being pro-life meant. Like I didn't know that stuff in sixth grade. What am I voting for?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Al Gore just had a friendlier face, in my opinion. That's all I could notice was, and like I took the identity of what I would hear inside of the household, like, oh, this candidate's a good one. Like you kind of affiliated with whoever your household was affiliating with because you didn't know any better. I was a
Yeah.
sixth grader, man. Like, and people
Well,
took that way too serious in sixth grade.
yeah. I've also seen, being on campus at my alma mater, people would get heated on those debates whenever somebody would come on campus and they'd just be trying to preach like Christianity or the good word or anything like that. They would try to just be like positive influence on people. And some
Mm-hmm.
people would get really heated about that and they would be like, you have to believe what I believe. And it's like, you don't have to believe what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. They respectfully will say, okay, I'm going to question your morals then if you want to question mine, like, but I'm not going to scream in your face. And sometimes people confuse passion with being louder. Just because you're louder doesn't mean you're correct. Doesn't mean your point is right. You can be louder, but let's be honest, the truth doesn't need defending. You don't need to be louder to get your point across. Your point will get
That's true.
across if it's truth. And truth
That's
always
very
wins
true.
out. So, with like even the elections and stuff, and we'll not spend too much on this topic of like the 2020 election, but those raids and stuff on DC, that was a public disgrace of what this country is. And the
Oh
people
yeah,
that went on that day back in January of 2021, y'all should be ashamed of yourself. I mean,
that was way too serious.
it was
Like,
way too serious, and
yeah,
they couldn't accept the loss on that. Like, you can say that, yeah, maybe it was rigged, maybe it wasn't. We've been in this for 4 years now, though. Like, we're in year 4 of the Biden term, and he was elected president. We've got in place the Electoral College. You can debate that, whether or not you like that. But it was already done, and people were like going, like, you're going to storm the Capitol? Like, again,
yeah.
that's breaking the law. People went way too serious on that, and this whole episode, I'm going to be honest to the listeners out there, this kind of sounds like a rant from us. It is a rant.
It is. It's
It's
totally
us
a
getting
rant.
heated because we get so lost in these identities that we forget that we shouldn't be so hostile towards our fellow man and woman. Like
Yeah.
we don't need to do that. I don't understand why there's so much division, and I think politics. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. We're giving it like the back half of part 1 of our identity crisis episode, and I don't know. I don't know how to summarize politics the best, but I think we need to do better.
Yeah. I mean, I could try and give it a spin on my take, like, because as you talk back to like that 2020 election when the Capitol building was stormed, I remember like sitting there thinking, and like this is not taking it way too extreme, but that was totally an act of terrorism, like,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
internally, right, with our own people, our fellow men and
And our
women going out,
president was condoning
and our
it. He was,
president. Exactly. So it was crazy, right? Like, I think when people take identities way too serious, like, the only identity I feel like people should take way too serious at times is understanding that we're all human beings at the end of the day. Like, identify as that and understand that, like, others are also, people have similar experiences. Everyone also receives information different too. And that's something that people need to understand. Like, that's why opinions, when people take opinions way too serious, I get a little like, I chuckle internally because I'm like, well, yeah, we can all get heated like, oh, I can't believe this person like likes this one thing, like pistachio flavored ice cream. Are you kidding me? Like,
Hey, it's
yeah,
not
I
bad.
mean,
I've had it. It's not bad.
I've never had it in my life. I'm not. That's just a poor example. I'm not like bashing on pistachio flavored ice cream, but I'm just saying, like in a general sense, like why would you hate on somebody for liking something, right? Like
Right.
everyone is able to affiliate with whatever the heck they want, in my opinion. Like if you want to be somebody who identifies with, a sports team, you want to identify with a political affiliation, like, people like what they like. If like this coffee drink I've been drinking out of, right? It's a Yeti. You can hate me for liking Yetis. I don't know, like I don't know what Yeti supports and stuff, but I've seen like this is like kind of segueing into another area, but I've noticed like, and this still like kind of leans on politics and stuff, but the war over I think it's in Israel right now at the
Yeah.
time, but that war, I've seen people say things like, "Oh, I can't believe like they're boycotting Starbucks right now, or they're boycotting, whatever." Yeti could have donated money, and I have no idea about that stuff. And that's probably one of the weak suits of me not getting too deep into politics to know all the ins and outs of that stuff. But like, there's also companies like Apple that have also donated money to the war, but I haven't seen people change to green bubbles on my phone yet that are like, boycotting Starbucks and stuff. And I apologize to anyone. Like I'm not trying to be, take anything out of context, and like I wish I understood a little bit more about what was going on. Like I know that like, children dying in a war is never good.
Oh yeah.
Like
No.
it's not a good situation. I just think like, to be informed on what's really going on over there is super helpful, and that's like my weak part. So I just bring this up like lightly. I'm not trying to get deep into it, but I'm just saying like, you can't. It's like you can't pick and choose at the end of the day, right? Like what you're going to support if you don't fully support something is what I'm trying to get at. Like
Yeah.
it's difficult, like I can't see if I was going to partially support the Republican Party, right? Like how do you do that? Like I think, this person's okay, but I'm not going to, do whatever he's telling me to do on this. Like you pick a person in a political party based on their views and values, right? Like what they're
Right.
going for. And like whether they're pro-life or whether they're like, they're supporting the LGBTQ community, whatever that is, right? Like because you support what they support. But if you're like, there's some things I don't really like about this guy that he supports, then like why are you identifying? Like you got to be either 100% in my opinion, or you got to be like, it's hard to be like
You
one
can't
foot
be
in,
half
one foot out.
measures. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like I don't know, like friendships, relationships. When you're like one foot in, one foot out, it's like it never feels comfortable.
Yeah. Agreed. Well spoken. All right. So favorite part of the episode. Gonna. That's a great way to stop for part one, and it's our favorite part of the episode now, where we do our MVPs of taking things way too serious. What you got for us?
The MVPs of taking way things taking things way too seriously this week. Let's see. Oh man, put me on the spot. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think what's gone on recently in life and in the news and in everything in general.
I can hop in if you need some time.
Yeah, you might have to give me a few. I'm still trying to
All right.
think it through. If you got someone.
I've got Nintendo. Nintendo's taking things way too serious. I love emulators out there. I think it's great what we're doing. Take away the power from these big corporations. And I know we had our shameless plug. Sponsor us Nintendo. Sponsor us Microsoft. Sponsor us Sony. And now I'm doing a complete 180. Nintendo is suing a pretty big emulation company. Well, it's not a company. It's like a group of people that do it, but they're suing them because you can emulate your Switch on like the Asus Ally or some of those gaming handhelds that actually have dedicated graphics cards. And it's a great time because then you don't have to buy a Switch. You can actually play those games on these handhelds, and it actually looks a lot better. You can up the refresh rate, and it looks beautiful on those devices. And Nintendo, of course, has to strike them down, because what happens when you fight the big company? They're gonna come after you. That just always happens. Nintendo even said like, "Oh, we always have our lawyers on retainer. Like, that's their job. They know their job is to, like, always squash these companies that try to do that stuff. So, Nintendo, you're taking things way too serious. We love emulation here on the Way Too Serious podcast, and chill. You'll get your money still. You'll get your money still.
That's the kind of things that make people want to like boycott a system, you know, like
Yeah.
the fact that they took that way too serious. I'm gonna go back to one that I've already like called out before in a previous episode for my MVP, and I hate like double dipping on this, but I'm like super irritated. No, it's not drivers. It is TikTok again. So like, I just gotta give a deep explanation on this because we had basically like I have stopped posting videos on TikTok for the most part because one, they removed my Joe Exotic video, which I was very heartbroken about because I mean Joe Exotic, it wasn't very violent. He pow powed it. I didn't get that. So that was the first one. That was like the first strike. Strike 2 and 3 was they removed the sound from my video on one for quiz time because it had the Jeopardy theme song, which was actually, I believe, one of the things that they allowed us to use in CapCut while we were creating this thing. So it was available. And for some reason, they said that we plagiarized the music and we had to have some stupid music that was not Jeopardy, which worked perfect for quiz time. Instagram had no problem with it. They left it up.
TikTok sucks.
Golden. Yeah, TikTok sucks. And then they took off another one. They didn't let it play because it had our intro song, which is also on royalty-free music, which means that you can use it for free on the platforms. That's what they're made for. That's what they're intended for. Like, we pay a subscription due to use that, and they said, "Oh, there's copyright infringement," and removed it. So,
yeah, for TikTok, you won't see us on TikTok probably going forward.
Yeah, so I mean, if you do follow us on TikTok, I mean, just follow on Instagram because I'm not gonna post on TikTok anymore. I'm sick and tired of TikTok, and I'll say it like I think it's like a Chinese-based company. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh yeah,
but
the
like,
U.S. is trying to squish them.
Oh yeah, and like if that's the case, like just tell us to stop posting on TikTok. Like I prefer Instagram Reels anyways. I think it's kind of cool anyways. Like on Instagram. So I'm over TikTok. Just MVP of
all
the year.
Time.
Right there. I know it's early in the year, but that's my MVP of the year. TikTok. I'm done with you. We're breaking up now.
TikTok, do better. We're telling everyone to do better. Even ourselves, we can do better. Until next time, this is the end of part 1. I'm Josh Larson, signing off.
You're rushing, man. We still gotta go through the hypocritical section. You took this episode way too serious.
No. We're saving hypocritical for part 2.
No, I still want to know if you've been a hypocrite this week.
Absolutely not. End of part 1.
All right. Well, until the next time, guys. We'll catch you all later. Peace.
All right, peace.